Folks, Democrats are still in Chicago, and they were joined today by Ken Martin, the chair of the Democratic National Committee. He called out the twice impeached, criminally convicted con man in chief Donald Trump for his blatant racist power grab.
I want to thank Governor Pritzker, of course, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, and Chairwoman Hernandez. Most importantly, I want to thank the patriots behind me. You know, patriotism means standing up for our Constitution in this time when it's under assault from people throughout this country, including our President of the United States. Let me tell you something, though. You heard it from the governor. Democrats are fighting back. We're not rolling over. And I've been saying to these Texas Republicans, if you want a showdown, well, you're going to get a showdown. And here it is right now here in Illinois. Unlike Texas Republicans who held just one hearing on flood response, but 8 hearings on rigging maps, Texas Democrats are doing their damn jobs. They're standing up for the Constitution. They're standing up for the democracy. They're standing up for the voices of their constituents. There is nothing more American than calling out corruption, blasting bullies who seek to harm others, and defending democracy and the will of the voters. We are here on the eve of the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act to once again stand up for fairness and justice. Because just as the icons of the civil rights movement marched, protested, and got into good trouble, just as Dr. King and Fannie Lou Hamer and John Lewis fought to ensure that Americans could access the ballot regardless of the color of their skin, so too are these courageous Texas House Democrats standing up and fighting back against a racial gerrymandering scheme to disenfranchise black and Latino voters, all to desperately hold on to Congress in the midterms. I am here because the DNC is standing shoulder to shoulder with them every single step of the way. And let me tell you something. We are supporting them not because it's a political fight, although it is, not because it's a necessary fight, although it is. We are supporting them because this is a moral fight, a fight worth fighting with every tool at our disposal, a fight for the fundamental value that voters should get to choose their leaders, not the other way around. Now, our message today is simple. It didn't have to be this way. It did not have to be this way. But Governor Greg Abbott, he could have simply picked up his pen to directly support individuals and families affected by the devastating floods in Kerr County. He didn't. He could have said no to Donald Trump and refused to redraw the electoral map in Texas. He didn't. It's clear that Republicans would rather play politics with our elections than support flood victims. They'd rather cheat than try to campaign on their failing record, a failing record which, by the way, includes voting for Trump's budget bill, which rips away health care for up to 1.7 million Texans. Republicans are running scared that voting for this monstrosity will make them lose their majority, and it certainly will, which is why they're trying to disenfranchise Texas voters by packing and cracking them into districts to dilute their voting power, a clear and blatant violation of the Voting Rights Act. Now, I want to be very clear about this. The Trump-Abbott gerrymander is a test case for the rest of the country. What Republicans are trying to do in Texas is a model for other red states to lie, cheat, and steal their way to victory. They don't give a damn about the will of voters or their needs. In fact, they'd rather bend the knee to Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. than advocate for Texas. It's insulting, it's shameful, and it's wrong. And as I've said, Democrats are going to fight this tooth and nail, and until the will of the voters is respected. This is not the Democratic Party of your grandfather, which would bring a pencil to the knife fight. This is a new Democratic Party. We're bringing a knife to a knife fight, and we are going to fight fire with fire. We cannot, we will not let Republicans succeed in their efforts to gerrymander the map and tilt the election in their favor. I want to thank all of those who are here in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in the Texas House Democratic Caucus who have broken quorum to prevent this illegal Republican gerrymander from going through. And with that, it is my great honor to introduce one of those brave patriots, true patriots.
Here, of course, because Texas House Democrats are demonstrating what it means to fight for the preservation of our constitutional republic. Donald Trump, Governor Abbott, Texas Republicans, well, they know that they're headed toward a loss of the Congress in 2026. They're afraid. and they should be. Because when you try to tear health care away from veterans and seniors, from children and people with disabilities, when you raise tariff taxes on groceries and beer and automobiles, when you let poor and working class families go hungry, when you allow smokestack industries to pollute the air and remove safety standards from food producers, well, all so that you can give a massive tax break to Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Ackman, well, frankly, you'd better watch out. You're going to lose your elections. So they've decided that the only way to save themselves is to cheat, to change the rules in the middle of the game. And what do MAGA Republicans in Texas do when Donald Trump ignores, well, his oath of office and theirs, and when they're taking it upon themselves to thwart the will of the American people? Well, they say, when Donald Trump calls, they say, yes, sir, right away, sir. Happy to lick your boot, sir. When Donald Trump says jump, Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton say, how high? They don't care that they're violating the Voting Rights Act and racially gerrymandering their state. Well, they're hoping they can rob the bank and get away before anyone notices. Texas Republicans are trying to diminish the voting power of their own constituents, and in doing so, diminish the rights of Illinoisans and all Americans. Texas House Democrats are putting their lives on hold and their livelihoods at risk because they don't want to live in a country where the president rigs elections for his side. That's not democracy. That's not America. To be in public office right now is to constantly ask yourself, how do I make sure that we're standing on the right side of history? Well, there's a simple answer. The wrong side of history will always tell you to be afraid. And the right side of history will always expect you to be courageous. Texas House Democrats are leading the way in choosing courage and country over politics and party. That's what it means to fight for what's right. And I love this country, too. And I love it so much that I'm going to fight for it, too, right alongside my heroes, the Texas House Democrats. So the state of Illinois is proud to stand side by side with these brave Texas Democrats, heroes in the battle to save our democracy.
You know, Zachary, what really drives these Republicans crazy is the fact that Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois is a billionaire. And he could fund this whole thing through December. And they're pissed off because they're usually the ones whose billionaires are funding their stuff. What say you, Elon Musk?
Elon Musk is still sitting somewhere angry and upset and pouting and only giving resources when he's being threatened with the risk of deportation, okay? Because he's probably just as here without the appropriate credentials to be here. Like, that's where he is, somewhere pouting about it. Governor Pritzker is a role model, and he is doing the right work. We have a number of Democratic governors who are out there and who are talking to the game, but Pritzker is backing up the talk with some action. And that's what I'm looking for in a future leader of the party as a whole. And I also want to say a huge shout out to Chairman Ken Martin. You know, this man had a tough election to become the DNC chair. He served under Jamie Harrison, and he has had very few missteps in his current role. He's done an amazing job, from standing up to very small men with loud mouths like, what's little skinny man?
David Hogg.
Little Duke. Look, that was my man, David Duke.
David Hogg
was a mental lapse. Yeah, David Hogg, not David Duke, but David Duke Hogg. Yeah, you know, he stood up, did the right thing, and he's doing it again. He's present, he's visible, he's on the ground. I was fortunate enough to be in New York City for a Congressional Black Caucus PAC event, and who was right there, you know, on the main stage doing some big talk? It was Ken Martin. He's doing a great job, and I cannot not give this man credit, because that's the kind of fight we need in this war.
Of course, California Governor Newsom has now also not been silent. Here's what he had to say about what these nutcases in Texas are doing.
But it's done in response to the existential realities that we're now facing. Things have changed. Facts have changed. So we must change. I think it's in the spirit of Lincoln's infamous second inaugural. We have to disenthrall ourselves so we can save this country. We've got to think anew. We've got to act anew. Things have changed. We're reacting to that change. They've triggered this response, and we're not going to roll over. And we're going to fight fire with fire. But we're going to do so not just punching with the weight of the fourth largest economy, the most populous state in our union, the size of 21 state populations combined, but we also will punch above our weight in terms of the impact of what we're doing. And I think that should be absorbed by those in the Texas delegation. Whatever they are doing will be neutered here in the state of California. And they will pay that price. And we believe public opinion is with our approach. And I appreciate the growing recognition in other states of other governors of like mind and the people of this country recognizing what's at stake. These folks don't play by the rules. If they can't win playing the game with the existing set of rules, they'll change the rules. That's what Donald Trump has done. He's dialing for seats. Familiar because he dialed for votes in the last election. Here's someone who tried to break this country, tried to light democracy on fire on January 6th. He recognizes he's going to lose in the midterms, and we have the opportunity to de facto end the Trump presidency in less than 18 months. That's what's at stake, and that's why we're putting a stake in the ground. We're not drawing lines to draw lines. We're holding the line on democracy, on the rule of law, co-equal branches of government, popular sovereignty. That's what this is about.
Could you invite Texas Democrats?
And Mustafa, that's what it is. They are scared to death they're going to lose the House next year.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And, you have to evolve. You have to meet the moment. So I appreciate what Governor Newsom just shared and some of the other governors are considering doing because, we see what's playing out on the ground all across this country. Anybody who's actually spending any time out there, people are suffering right now, and it's just going to get worse if we don't have some checks and balances in place. That's the reason that we have the system, that we have in this country, the three different branches of government. There's supposed to be checks and balances that are there, but that's all out of whack right now. So we've got to get back to that because if we don't, you're not going to have a country. And we know who's going to carry the burden. It has always been the Black community that's been the one, who gets hit first and worst, and the ones who, even after things begin to heal, it takes from, just decades upon decades. So folks are doing what's needed in this moment. And I appreciate that. Everybody knows I'm a type of person who tries to find collaboration where it can be. But these folks are not interested in that. These folks are only interested in power. They don't care who they hurt and for how long they hurt them. And that has to be addressed. And this is one of the ways of doing it.
Teresa, this is why they're scared. This group right here. There are 35 vulnerable Republicans, and they are scared that they are going to lose anywhere from 10 to 20 of those seats. And they're like, hey, we got to run the numbers up because we know because of the policies, Trump is underwater in a lot of these polls. People are not happy at all. And, of course, they're pissed off. They keep lying about the Epstein stuff. And so they are trying to protect these folks. That's what this is all about. These 35 vulnerable Republicans right here.
I mean, there's nothing else you can do at this point. Republicans are pulling out their chess book, but it's not working. If the electeds were actually doing their job in the district, I guess we wouldn't be having this issue where they're now trying to figure out other ways to change the way the maps are being drawn and changing the economics in between. So, I think it's an interesting, way of how they're deciding to govern instead of just governing their district accordingly. But we see what the writing on the wall is, and it looks like Democrats are now stepping up a little bit more where people are appreciating the fight.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.